The chronicles of my new life of luxury on the precipice of death next bring us to a pleasant walk to a lake northeast of the tower. No doubt another spot that used to be green and verdant, evidenced by the trees. This was the 15th day, and I was there to pick up a drop I'd spied from the tower roof 3 hours prior. No note. It was a good box though, and even its contents had some merits. A stack of plastic first aid cases, fully stocked. Do they like me now? Or maybe this was excess stock freed up by the death of some other poor sap somewhere else. Awaiting news from the angels on the progress of the rapture, I wandered home. The tower was close to the park, but it took hours to get back as I kept stopping to investigate the trees. The barren soil really made me think they should be dead. Moreover, the leaves were new, if that's the right word. It was like they'd just grown in spring, bright and clean. It was late summer. Should have seen at least a few starting to yellow here and there. I suppose the heat from the decomposing soil could be altering the cycles of nature. What, a cycle of nature altered in my little world? First I've heard of it. The end result of this sudden interest in botany was that I broke off a load of leafy branches and took them to decorate my penthouse. This would, later, prove to be one of the most important decisions I'd made. Really. In the meantime, I went to the roof at nightfall, ready for the mist. Was thinking it would be better to be as far from the ground as possible, and not be in my room, in case the zombies came searching. Just a quiet, cold night though. Mist was thicker up there, and I was worried about breathing it in. It had what I'd almost call a taste, more like a sensation akin to eating a spiderweb. Yep, that's the best analogy I got. Made me feel very alert, although that might have been the cold. After a silent and shivery hour, I risked a return to the penthouse. Heard no sound echoing up the stairwell, and my drawbridges were all safely withdrawn. Cool. I was actually a little frustrated at the lack of consistency. No good not knowing whether it's safe to sleep. Better to either say yes or no for sure. Sat up in bed an hour more with no alerts, then drifted off through the rest of the night. Woke up feeling refreshed. Washed myself, ate good cans of bad mush, picked up my rifle, and went downstairs to make the best of the day. No signs of trouble in the lobby. It seemed they really had lost track of me up there. Very promising, although I'd soon find out why I'd had it so easy. First sign of intrigue was the plane. I was strolling again in the park out east, taking in the fresh air and trying to channel the survivor spirit of the trees. Think what you will of this. However, the plane came by fast and low, probably around 9:30. Every other time I'd seen it, they'd come just after midday, with no exceptions. Immediately I was thinking this could be something to do with my impending rescue, and raced towards the drop site. It was just over a rise in an open space at the north end of the park. There were some wooden buildings, animal sheds, some kind of small holding. Peering through the scope of the rifle, I actually saw the box touch down, then be smothered by its parachute. Chickens were wandering around, so I took one with me for later, thanks to the rifle. Was getting good at that sort of thing, thanks to my new regime of free time and survival reading. Was about to get some new pieces for my library, as this crate was full of heavy print on the topics of armoring. I think they wanted me to make a suit of armor for myself or something. Thanks for looking out for me, but do you know what's going on down here? Don't have time to apprentice at an iron forge, do I? I suppose I was unemployed. Did they see me wasting away in my room, counting bullets and reading graphic novels? The weirdest part was the bottom layer of books. Schematics, I should say. It was designs, technical, for an army vehicle. Oh, so you're not going to pick me up, but if I can make a tank out of spare parts, then I'm free to drive home, am I? Wasn't really a tank, more like a transport. Looks like a boat at the front. Amphibious, maybe. Well, I could have learned all the details down to the last 5mm screw, but the only reading I did from these tomes was in the very corner of the pages. Each spread had a letter or two written in pencil in the top right corner. A secret message for sure, yet a brief look back and forth through the sequence didn't get me anywhere. Just a jumble of letters. Nearly a wasted trip, but I realized I could see more orange smoke. The plane dropped 2 crates that morning. The other was at the east end of the park, where the urban sprawl resumed. Arrived to find some more random documents and schematics. The contents of some military library, I presume. One was a long report held together by paperclips about how to machine parts of a gun. It must have looked like I was reading all this with great interest as I scoured the pages for more secrets. Came away with just aching eyes after the white pages reflected so much sunlight onto my face. Happy ending though, as the crate also had a series of rusty iron rings in the bottom. It gets better. Each ring had letters scratched into it, arranged in pairs facing each other across the insides. Now I didn't actually know what all this was about, but I tied them to a length of twisted up duct tape and pocketed it. I'll hold you in suspense here to note a remarkable encounter I had before I went back to unravel this mystery. There on the east side of town was a bar with something on the sign about bear fighting. Back beyond charm. I went over to the place and climbed up the fire escape to the roof. Said roof was partially collapsed, and I could see the bar down there. In the darkness, a large brown shape was thudding about. Really didn't think I was actually gonna see an undead bear. Probably wouldn't have even believed it possible if it wasn't for the graphic novels infesting my brain. How was I so sure it was a bear? Oh, that's because I slipped over the edge and fell right beside it. It was more curious than angry, for the first few seconds. I was calm as well, just long enough to realize there were actually 2 bears in there. Bear fighting bar? Takes 2 to tango. I had the shotgun loaded and fired it just as the first bear's mouth lunged. It recoiled and I scrambled backwards. I was saved only by way of the rubble from the roof that had fallen, kind of piled on the edge of a seating booth. It let me get most of the way back to the roof. Dragged myself up with strength I didn't know I had, especially considering the amount of junk I was carrying, plus a chicken. It was like my arms were machines just pulling me up with barely a feeling of stress or pain. Superpowers! Didn't take a graphic novel binge to think that, but seriously, I was in some adrenaline-fueled super state there. Wouldn't be the last time. For now, I turned around and attended to the 2 bears trying to climb after me. In their partially decomposed state, they seemed to have trouble with it. Trouble enough for me to plug them several more times each with the shotgun right in the face, gradually ceasing their beastly roars. Whole town must have heard them. Afterwards I was so pumped that I climbed back down to prod the bodies. Very smart thing to do in undeath season, eh? Luckily they didn't move, and I did have a good reason to go down. Those bears probably kept looters at bay. Indeed, someone had holed up behind the bear bar with loads of food and ammo. Nice score, although as I came down from the battle rage it started feeling too heavy to take with me. Got kicked back into battle mode when I realized that the town really had heard those roars. A crowd of zombies was clamoring to get into the bar. I took my leave via the fire escape at the back and jogged off. A few followed, providing nice shooting breaks on the way back. So now I had established that I was a superhero and bear-fighting champion of Eastside Arrowhead City. I had to solve the mystery of the ring cipher. And that was the solution, by the way. It was a cipher. The rings were suggesting letter replacements with their opposite pairs. Clue was that the final 2 letters became BB when the switch was made, so I eagerly translated the rest. Over the course of an evening on my thick, snuggly rug, I gradually turned the nonsense in the boat tank book into the following message. Roads cut, stuck, working harder, locked up, experiments to save world, not sure how long, you are special case, you keeping us alive, pretend you don't know, if you see us, do nothing, please, more when I can, BB. By the way, I went back to check some of the pages I left in the park again. Nothing more than what I already found. So that was the latest. The angels say I really am special. Keeping them alive? No, you're supposed to be keeping me alive, and you're not doing a very good job of it actually. BB. Couldn't work out if hating them made any sense. Felt like they were doing something for me. Maybe they figured I already knew more than I did. And the whole "if you see us, do nothing" part? Couldn't be talking about the plane. You did want me to get those boxes, right? What else was there to see? I looked from the window, wondering who might be looking back. Something to see. It was dark, so couldn't see much. But you know what? There was totally something moving down at the base of the tower, and it totally wasn't the zombies. It was a sleek, black shape. Not much to go on in the dark. It looked like it was coming out of the entryway directly below me and turning out into the street. Then something that definitely gave the game away. Just down the street was a fire station with a big red vehicle door. It opened. The black shape slid inside, with a light revealing it to me. You guessed it, that vehicle from the guide. The doors closed, the lights went out, and I saw nothing else. After staring with mad intensity for a few minutes, I grabbed guns and ammo and went to the stairs, clacked the drawbridges down as I spiraled for ground level, then ran straight for the fire station. Lights were still on inside, and the vehicle door was open. Whatever I'd seen go in had already left. All the human doors were open too, wide open, and I ran through them. There was pale dirt on the floors. Sorry, BB, looks like I wasn't doing nothing, eh? What game was I giving away with this? What game were they playing? Ultimately, I was there at the scene of the crime, too late to see anything juicy. However, the fire station was a hideout for sure. There were tall warehouse shelves around the main garage, packed with tools, food, bullets, and the great prize of the evening, an assault rifle. Loaded, grip still warm. Caught them with their pants down, and now I had a machine gun. Ho ho ho. Right on cue, I heard zombies trying to break in. So here was the question. Was it zombies driving that boat tank? Was it zombies leaving in a panic when their so-called experiment came for an unscheduled checkup? Me and my machine gun wanted a real enemy to smoke. For the time being, I smoked the zombies with said machine gun. Was easy to use, there were racks of full magazines waiting to sample in the station, and broadly speaking it was the most fun I'd had at 4 in the morning for a while, and I was overjoyed that I was genuinely ruining whatever was going on. Could have just rescued me. Any trouble you got from me at this point was well deserved. Really though, it was them there to give me trouble, as I discovered after sauntering back with my new friend. Going back to the stairs in the tower, I heard movement. Thought it might be stray zombies, but it was more than a little movement. I kept going, hoping for the best. Reached the office level below the penthouses, and noticed the door to the stairwell had been ripped off the wall. Beyond it, a gaggle of zombies was crowded around a table. Didn't recognize them, and I was quite familiar with my prior neighbors on account of searching their persons for valuables in detail. Plus, these zombies didn't have shotgun wounds. They were rather clean. Well, that didn't last long, of course, with my assault rifle delivering bursts into heads at close range, one after the other. Much safer than worrying about reloading the shotgun. Was more worried about the broader picture, though. The zombies could get in, get this high, and they might even have a little help from the night fairies and their high-grade military toolkit. Mother always hated the night fairies. Dawn broke as I cleared out 30 or so targets from the offices, sat in a luxurious chair and refilled my magazines while Pistol kept watch on the door. Then the big moment. Was my precious apartment going to have new tenants? Burst in with rifle shouldered and found all was well. Good, I guess. Hadn't slept all night, so I was ready to crash, especially as my brain was desperate to internalize the weird memories I'd been racking up since it last took stock. Ate food while I calmed down, and double-checked the stairwells. Sounded like a zombie or two was in the lobby, but the drawbridges were up now. Gave it an hour, then hit the sheets. I was woken up about 4 in the afternoon by the sound of cracking wood. No red mist. Still, plenty of zombies making a home call all the way on the 13th floor. So, I was screwed even up here, huh? Pissed off and with bullets to waste, I came out the door with the assault rifle blazing and the pistol tucked into my sweatpants. Too mad for a holster this afternoon. Cleared my doorway and went out. Saw loads more in the stairwell in front. More were coming from the other apartments to my left. I went right. Here the hall didn't actually lead anywhere, as it rounded a corner, then hit the edge of the collapsed section of the tower. Thus I got myself immediately trapped between a drop and an oncoming horde. Luckily I had some bastard's assault rifle. Took out a load, although had some trouble with a huge fat guy who probably ate bullets for breakfast. Sigh of relief once they stopped rounding the corner at me, but the damage had been done. My paradise had been violated. I went around the other penthouses, and yep, they were all stocked with new bodies for me to drop and haul. What were the chances that my unwelcome benefactors last night had something to do with this? If they were watching, they'd have known I was settling in for the big easy up there. Not gelling with your experiment, mysterious mad scientist goons? Well, you'll be happy to know I killed 50-some fresh targets and threw some of them from the roof. A few were too heavy, so I just chopped important bits off and covered the remains with plastic bags. Not so great for the penthouse vibe. Was being tackled over by a similar feeling to the one that drove me out of that motel, feeling like I could die any minute, and there was no escape. Only this time I had no hope of finding somewhere better, since I was already about as hard to find as I could arrange for without just concreting myself into the ground somewhere. Not such a bad idea, if death by starvation suits you better than being mauled to death and back. BB Hassan, you gonna save me? Or do I have to save you? More than two sides to this war, most likely. Maybe I was a side all of my own. Took a kind of nap, half asleep, half trembling. Woke up around 2. Quiet. Red sky. I crept to the roof and took it all in. It was impressive, really. Inescapable, inexplicable. They really had me cornered. They weren't going to let me have a single damn thing, and there was nothing at all accidental about the whole affair. That much was crystal clear. And what could I even do about it? There was one thing to try. I loaded up on bullets and went on this kind of therapy rampage. Spiraled down the stairs and made sorties into various floors, gunning down the opposition in a fit of rage. They weren't supposed to be there, you must understand, but they were. Seemed like the whole tower had been gradually refilled with zombies looking for a good home or a good meal. Evicted a few of the trespassers, taking little pleasure since it was probably a waste of time. It just really seemed like somewhere in the land of death had to be safe, and I really thought I'd found it. No, earned it. Ended up on the ground floor as dawn was breaking, kicking out the scum like some nightclub bouncer. Lobby had a load of red mist-fueled beasts, although not in sufficient volume to trouble a 30-round automatic rifle. Surviving their antics was just an eardrum-assaulting chore now. Please don't get blood on the marble flooring, guys. That's a slip hazard. Regular breaks to refill magazines from my cereal bag of brass cartridges, and to massage my shoulder, which was taking a real hammering from the recoil. All important parts of a good therapy killing spree. Took a look at the world that was trying to kill me, and the world beyond it that must exist, the one that technically wasn't trying to kill me, although was mighty interested in seeing me tortured and teased. I was a lab rat, in one hell of a lab, and I was damn near sure it wasn't the first time they'd pulled this stunt. Did those soldiers in the tower get the same treatment? Could be that they deserved it at least. Didn't have nearly enough information to know the score here, and didn't get enough sleep to piece it together even if I was straight up listening to a maniacal laughing monologue. Ended up slogging it back to bed, throwing away all the ramps and barricading the penthouse door. Eyes were stinging, heart was doing the flamingo. Couldn't even feel the bed as I lay on it. Keeping them alive, was I? So then, setting a gun to my own head, I could hold these bastards hostage, huh? Now there's a thought to relax to after a long night shift. Didn't actually try it, but I should have. I was right.